If you're heading to AgriScot on the 19th of November, join us for a live episode recording with SAYFC. Starting at 9 a.m. in Seminar Room 2, I'll be joined by Katrina Gemmell and Jack Young to record an episode on what young farmers has meant for their well-being, how Katrina filled that void when it was time to move on, and maybe a few tales from those legendary young farmers' dances. Pop along to be part of the blether. That's AgriScot, 9 a.m, Seminar Room 2. Now, on with the show. Welcome to Blether Together, brought to you by Farmstrong Scotland. I'm your host, Sarah Stephen, and together we'll be travelling across Scotland to chat to farmers and crofters to learn more about them, their businesses, challenges, and the positive steps they take to manage their well-being. Our thanks go to NFU Mutual Charitable Trust for supporting the podcast series, and to our founding funders, Movember and the Royal Highland Agricultural Society of Scotland. Welcome to our extra special Christmas podcast. Today we are delighted to have a farmer, comedian, welder and impressionist on the programme. Some of you may simply know him as Jim Smith. Jim proved that laughter is definitely the best medicine. Well, joining me today, as I've said already, is the very talented Mr. Jim Smith. Jim, I can see you smiling away there on screen. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. Thank you very much.
It looks like the two of us have had to find a very quiet spot in our houses, aka bedrooms, to record this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm in the spare room, actually. It's
Not forever, I hope.
Peace and quiet. No. So, just for this record. But I've had to put the heating on, which is unheard of. We don't do it on Christmas Day. So.
Must pain you to do so as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. But thanks for having me. It's lovely to be here.
Jim, I know that sort of sharing and nurturing with, and being social with other farmers and like-minded people is very important to you. And it's it's a cause very close to your heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Not just for my own personal thing, but also I'm delighted to be an ambassador for RSABI, who you know well. And they're really trying to push the Keep Talking campaign, which is great. And the great thing about that is that I think for years folk thought of RSABI as not just a charity, but somebody that help you out financially if you're in bother. But there's been a huge, I'd say in the last 10 years, the young farmers have done this as well. There's been a huge recognition of mental health issues in farming, and that's great. And it's probably 40, 50 years too late, but it's great. So I'm involved with that and just trying to keep the Keep Talking campaign going. And it's just folk really trying to ensure that folk are having a blether, folk are getting out, even if you've got a neighbour down the road that doesn't get out much, just taking time to pop in and say hello to them, all the rest of it. Just making sure, because 5 minutes chat with someone can really make somebody's day or even their week, just to check in on them, so it's all about just having a good natter.
And I think that's where the younger generation are so on it, aren't they? It just comes naturally to them, perhaps where the older generations really struggle to share and open up.
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean, looking back to my dad's generation, I think, some tough years in farming, going back there, 85 comes to mind and all the rest of it. And I think farming, there's too much of keeping up with the Joneses. So trying to admit that maybe you were struggling a bit, that would never be talked about 20, 30 years ago, even 10 years ago. So there's no harm admitting that now. And yeah, so, and folk don't have the time now to maybe get out and about. Well, one, they don't have farm staff working on the farm, so they can have a natter with them. They don't have the farm staff to say, right, you're milking the cows today, I'm away off to the market, or I'm away off to see Willie down the road. They don't even do farm sales now. I still love a farm sale, but they're all online, which is very efficient. But there's not like a call out. That used to be a great day out. So there's none of that. So we're getting less and less opportunities to get out and meet folk. So the Keep Talking campaign, I would get right behind it. Keep supporting that.
Jim, we're not really supposed to allude to the time of year in this podcast, but, we can't really look away from the fact that we're hurtling towards the big C. I don't want to dread this time of year, but goodness me, it just feels a bit overwhelming. I just wonder if you dread or relish this time of year.
I'm not a huge Christmas fan. I'm not a Scrooge. I am a spring day man. I love spring day. Actually, after the 21st of December, I'm like, the days are getting longer. So I get more excited about seeing the snowdrops in January. Everything closes down and all the rest of it. But thankfully, the farm, there's still that routine. There's sheep to feed. We don't have cattle anymore, but there was always cattle to feed and things like that.
So I think as you get older, I know you've got a young family, so they must be very
Yeah.
excited. But I think as you get older, I really long for those longer days. And when January comes, you feel, that's it, we've turned a corner. But I
Yeah.
just wonder if there's a time of year. Do you have ups and downs? Do you have a bit of a cycle in your year?
Yeah, definitely. But I must touch on that first. The kids, we've got Alice who's 4.5 and Emma who's 2.5. So this is the first year that especially Alice is totally getting it. So that's lovely. And I love all that. And with the tree up and they're excited about Santa coming. And it's a good excuse for me to start and show them. I'm trying to start and drip feed them 80s movies, starting off slowly. Seriously though, I love March and April and I love September on the combine harvester. So that is my kind of I like being busy and all that kind of stuff. November I hate. I hate November. I don't know why. I think harvest ends and I usually get chock-a-block with kind of like a lot of social things, which I'm not complaining about, but corporate gigs and all the rest of it. And, we're trying to get sheep tups out and all the rest of it, and it's usually wet. Although this year the autumn's been great, I must admit. Yeah, but I do have, there's
Moments.
other times I'm more excited about jumping out of bed than the others. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, you're so busy and you were in demand. There's no doubt about it. I just wonder how you find that balance between home and your sort of other professional life now.
Well, it's taken a few years to get used to it. But first of all, I should say I'm very lucky to have that kind of sideline, that diversification of my comedy, and it is a kind of diversification job now. But just trying to find the balance. Well, the big thing was we sold the cows 3 years ago, and they were only around about 50 or 60 settlers at the time, so not a huge number. But looking back, it's maybe something that I maybe regret a little bit because since then the price of beef has come up nicely and it's where it should be, and there's guys getting big money for their cattle, and rightly so. But on the other hand, it frees me a lot now if I have to go and do a gig or I can take the kids away. We were at Skye last weekend doing a gig for RSABI, and there's no hassle. We're 500 ewes here at home in Barley, so you can go away for the weekend as long as the sheep are feed in front of them. It's fine. You don't have the hassle of cows calving, cattle escaping, bulls getting mixed up with heifers, water troughs freezing. I don't have any of that hassle, and that's been a massive thing, So I'm able to just jump in the car and go different places and let me focus on my comedy. So yeah, still have the joy of the farm.
And did you always want to be a farmer?
Oh yeah, aye. There's no doubt about it. As soon as I could remember, I was with my dad in the tractor. In fact, one of my jokes is that I got a pedal tractor when I was 3 and I was cycling we were going to nursery or playgroup as it was at the time, and I was holding up all these village kids with bicycles and all the rest of it. So the abuse I was getting, I knew then I wanted to be a farmer. So, but seriously, yeah, always greatly encouraged. I mean, I was never forced into it, but I mean, if I could have played football for Scotland, I would have. I would have liked to have done that, but just didn't hit the heights. I barely got in the young farmers team.
I mean, I suppose you really came into everyone's sort of vision really during that pandemic, and we all
Yeah.
remember the video and the farm. And was it always something that was just there on the sidelines, sort of a little, you were harboring that thought that, oh, this is something I could do, or were you just very funny around the kitchen table?
I'm pretty dour and miserable. More will verify that.
Is that not most comedians when the spotlight turned off?
Well, it was really young farmers, thankfully. I owe everything to them because I had no inkling when I was at school to do any of this. But I got into doing pantos and the East Area Cabaret competition with the young farmers in Perthshire and Bankfoot. And it was great, and I got a thrill for being on stage and performing, but also really enjoyed writing the jokes. So, and I was kind of coming to my late 20s, and I thought about doing a sketch troupe or something, going to the Fringe. I had no idea how to do that. And then I started thinking about doing stand-up because it was just stuff I could do myself. Yeah, so there was always that hankering to take it to the next level, but never really did anything about it. And then I was 34 or 32 at the time, and I noticed that the Stand Comedy Club had their 5 minutes of the beginner's night. So I just applied for that, 2 5-minute slots doing stand-up, and it just went from there. So, and that was, 12 years ago. So my first 5 minutes in Glasgow, it was nerve-wracking, but it was great.
And Glaswegians, they're a hard crowd. I know I'm a Ouija.
Well, yes, they are. It goes back to that old traditional music hall myth. But I think now, especially the Glasgow Stand, a lot of students go, and there's a lot of expat teuchters and Highlanders and things. So there's a good mix of folk. They'll soon tell you if it's not funny right now. It's a good place to cut your teeth,
I mean, this whole podcast is about well-being. you just can't question how good laughing is for you. I can only imagine what it's like when a room full of people are laughing at you,
Mm.
what that must do for your sort of spirit and your well-being.
Oh, it's a huge rush. Aye. There's no doubt about it. You come off buzzing. It's like scoring a goal or something like that, or somebody getting the top price for their bull at the market. That's the same equivalent for me. You do come off, if you have a good gig, absolutely buzzing. Especially with stand-up, because it's stuff you've written yourself. You can't really copy any jokes, so it's all your own stuff. Aye, it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling,
And
you
then
know.
the flip side is, have you ever crashed and burned? I'm sure you haven't.
Oh, aye, a few times, aye. 'Cause I'm very lucky because a lot of farmers come to my gigs and it's kind of aimed towards that kind of rural market. But I did one down in Irvine. It was a Sunday brunch for a junior football club fundraiser. And Tam Cowan was the host. And I was like, oh my God, it's Tam Cowan. I've always wanted to gig with him. And I think I did a few ex-footballers as well. But yeah, I totally crashed and burned. In hindsight, it wasn't really my crowd, but I still did my full half hour and got my money. But and
You
that's what I
plowed
was saying about,
through.
yeah, I ploughed through quite right, kept right at the end of the drill. So, it just makes you, I realised then I had to be a bit more rounded as well for these type of crowds. And the corporate gigs as well that I do sometimes, they can be a hit or a miss because, sometimes you get 500 folk in a big room and they're not really there to see the comedian, but the money's good. So it's, it's like, well, you can listen to me or not.
Honesty is the best policy with this. And I think you're a farmer. So,
Yeah.
of course, the money's important.
Aye.
Be
Yeah. Well,
bold and
that
say it.
yeah, exactly. I can put up with these gigs. I'm very lucky. I've done a couple of tours of Scotland, and it's just folk are coming to see you because of the videos and because they've maybe seen me before. They know the type of humour they're going to get, so that you're going to get an audience that wants that type of humour you're performing. So it's great. That's really great.
Once that adrenaline rush subsides, do you ever get that sort of feeling of that flat, that deflated feeling? And if you do, how do you cope with that?
That usually lasts for a day or two after the gig, It does keep you going to the next, and it drives you on to start thinking about new jokes and new material as well, which is quite important. I find that's the big pressure, trying to come up with new stuff all the time, and I'm trying to write a show for next year. But it's amazing how you think of the material, but you can get a bit lazy and rely on your old stuff sometimes. I mean, I feel for like Mark Kennedy, the NFU president, because he's seen my act about 20 times at various dinners. You know what I mean? You have to keep pushing yourself to try and write material, but my problem is that I don't know if lazy is the word or I procrastinate. I just seem to put off sitting down with a piece of paper and trying to write jokes, especially if you've got umpteen jobs niggling you out in the farm. But I just take a diary with me in the tractor and think of anything funny, and anything at all, any little quip, and I just write it down. And you try and eke it out. So it's trying to think that the new stuff is a challenge, but it's a great challenge. And it's good to come back with a new show because you get fed up telling the same stuff. When Neil Diamond plays, they just want him to play Sweet Caroline, or Crackling Rosie. Whereas when I turn up, they're wanting new, fresh stuff.
There's the old adage, isn't it? You should never meet your heroes, but I wonder who you've met along the way that's really inspired you, and who do you look up to on the circuit?
Well, there's quite a few, and I've been fortunate enough to meet a good few of them, actually. Well, in the early days, Fred Macaulay was a great inspiration to me. He was kind of from Perthshire, from radio, and used to stand up. I remember I'd only been going about 6 months, and they were looking for someone to go up to support Fred up at Fraserburgh. I think it was like for 50 quid or something. And I was footloose and fancy free at the time. I had no kids, no morag. So I just jumped in the car just so I could make a connection with him. And he was always great advice. I've been fortunate enough to gig alongside Kevin Bridges and all that kind of stuff. Met Frankie Boyle. Yeah, a lot of big names I've met, and I go down to BBC now quite a lot. I'm on Breaking the News as well with Des Clark, which is great. So it's been really good actually, not just because I love my farming friends and it's great, but it's nice to go and meet different folk as well. And so it's been really cool meeting all that. I'll actually, and more I go no tell, no mind me saying, but probably the two highlights of my career. One was a Judith Ralston in the tractor for a children needs sketch, and I thought, I've made it. I'm never going to top this.
No offense, you must have looked quite pale next to her.
Oh, yeah, but she was great crack. She was brilliant banter, and she
And
was just
she's
brilliant.
a trained opera singer. Did you know that? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
yeah.
aye. Yeah, she told us all about it, but she was up at the farm in the chat and she was a great sport. And then there was another time I got asked by Gary Innes, but they've just had last week to be the host, the first hydro in the Hoolie they did 3 years ago, alongside Anne McAlpine. Everyone knows her. And then at the end, they all got us on stage. And then, so there was Donny Monroe, the original singer of Runrig, and then Dougie MacLean, who actually lives up the road from me. And they were all singing Caledonia. And it was like the end of Live Aid. And I thought, so
I've
So
made it. I've made
I've
it.
made it. Aye, yeah. So I've been fortunate enough to meet some pretty cool folk
It's funny
and
you mentioned
meet some
Fred
great
actually,
comedians.
because when I first started out in telly, he's a
Uh,
very, very nice man, Fred Macaulay,
aye,
and very generous. I first started out in telly in Aberdeen, and he was doing his radio show, and he was a
aye,
big cheese back then. I mean,
aye, yeah, aye,
it's
yeah,
20, 30 years ago, and they were recording in Aberdeen and asked for me to go on as a sort of third wheel, having never done radio before. And you go
aye,
in and you're brought in as a guest, and you're just, I think that the idea is that you just sort of respond to the quips and add
aye,
in here and there. But I just never done it. And I'd never done it before. And Fred had obviously got, he had his script and he had everything that needed to
aye,
say. And I was sitting there just looking at him, and he was sort of nodding at me and I was nodding back at
aye,
him and going, and then needless to say, I wasn't booked again ever. So,
aye. I know.
learning the art of your medium.
Yes.
He's a nice man. He's a very nice man.
Oh, aye, yeah, he's good. He's been good to me. You know what I mean? It is. I do like it. He kind of chilling out backstage, all these folk in the green rooms and all the rest of it. So it's good crack.
So, I mean, so life at home, life on the farm, it's always busy on a farm. I get that.
Yeah.
What do you do to give you that boost, that sort of health boost, that well-being boost? That's what it's all about. How do you keep yourself sane?
Oh, yeah. Well, various things. I go to football on a Monday night at Dunkeld, five-a-side football, and I've only been going about a year and a half. And I've got to say, Sarah, absolute game changer. Honestly, absolute game changer. Because I hadn't played for maybe 10 years. We used to kind of knock about in Perth, or I did a lot of young farmers football. We used to meet up sometimes. And then they built this wonderful all-weather pitch. And I discovered it was going to one of Alice's nursery barbecues that there's football. So I got in the group chat and I've been going every Monday night because I love my football, but I just could never be bothered to get the time to do it. And it's great. So it really helped.
You said
Procrastination.
game changer. Sorry,
Well,
Jim, to interrupt. You mentioned that.
yeah,
Is that just because of forgetting about things for an hour and a half, or just coming off
yeah.
sweaty and like feeling just completely revived?
Yeah, my fitness has improved so much. And yeah, just an hour and a half, you don't have to worry about anything. It's been really great. I don't think I'm stressed or that. It's just, two young family and the farm, obviously, and the comedy as well. So, like, my life's really good and full. But for that hour and a half, and for meeting different guys, that aren't farmers. In fact, we're having a Christmas night out next week, and I'm a bit scared because what do I talk to these guys about? Because there's no farm chat. Yeah, just I love playing football. I just really
You get
enjoy
your
it.
fix. And I
I
think
get
it's
my
a
fix,
recurring,
yeah.
yeah, it's a recurring theme actually, the podcast, throughout this podcast and the ones that we've recorded is how exercise has such a
Aye,
massive influence
yeah,
on your mental health. We probably perhaps don't focus on that as much as we should in
aye,
this country. We
aye,
keep thinking we're trying to find a quick fix, but actually just
aye,
moving every day, that's what keeps me sane. Put it that way. I just need to move
yeah,
every day in some way.
aye.
And I think
Because
it's overlooked.
yeah, I think so. Because I know farmers are counting their steps up every day, doing a lot. I don't think they do enough exercise. I've really enjoyed that. I got kind of into Monroe climbing back in COVID and that, but Emma came along as well. So life's just been a bit hectic. So you feel a bit guilty maybe about taking a day off to go up the hill when you could be going to the park, the girls or that. But I do mean to get back into that. But it did get me thinking, especially with football. I really want to focus on a farming business and my comedy career so that instead of thinking, well, football's a break from the stress, it should just be there to enhance. Something must be wrong if you're not. If you're thinking, well, it's good to get a break out of this for an hour and a half, then you focus on, right, how can I make life, easier and a bit. And I think folk probably do think, oh, well, he's got his comedy career now, and that brings in a good diversification for us now. And the financial pressure is off the farm, but you're still trying to juggle five things at once. You know what I mean? And I would never give up the farm. I would hate that. I would never ever give up farming. I think financially probably be better just focus on my comedy, but I think I would be dead inside. I think.
Is it that situation, or thinking about when you go and you meet people and you go to the pub for a pint? Is it that expectation? People are like, oh yeah, here's Jim, right? He'll be funny. Here, tell us a
I,
joke, Jim. Do you feel that ever?
no, well, if you meet strangers and they're like, "I'll tell us a joke," I'm like, well, I can't think of one right now, but it's nice to go to the pub and just be yourself, kind of thing. You know what I mean, and not have to be funny. I'm not really a kind of meet up for a pint guy. I do meet up. Four of us meet up, and that's been good as well. We call ourselves the Farmers Cinema Club. It started going. It was me and my mate John. We're going to see a film, and then we invited my other mate Rab, and they've got a mate Michael. And I'll tell you who they all are in a minute. But so we started going to the cinema, but we realised that you don't really get a catch up then. It's good watching a film, but you don't really get much of an actor. So now we just go to a restaurant now and again, but once every 2 months, and have a right good natter. And they're three of the brightest guys I know. So it's John Ritchie, who's Alex Ritchie's husband, ex-Grassland Farmer of the Year. There's Robert Gilchrist, who I've known for 30 years, went to Crepeston with him, and he's now CEO of the Aberdeen Angus Society. And Michael Blanche, who is ex-SEC, but also sheep
And we've
farmer,
met on
and
this podcast.
does the pasture podcast. So three very intelligent guys. So the only reason I go is I just bombard them with questions about farming and what's the sheep trade going to do and all the rest of it.
Is
It
that not what
cracks
it's
you.
all for? Is that not what sometimes is missing, from if you're on a farm on your own, you're isolated, you're rural. There needs to be more of, stimulation for some farmers who can feel very
Aye.
isolated at times.
Yes, I think so. That's definitely very important. That, although it's a tricky thing because I know a lot of farmers, including myself, sometimes are quite happy on mowing every day. Not every day, but you can crack on. I'm quite happy on the plough, just myself. Quite happy just if everyone's away, I can just crack on with jobs. But it gets to a point where you do have to meet someone. I think that's what's wrong. Folks spend too long away. Yeah, it is very important to get out and about. Another thing I've started doing is, and I'm probably 5 years too late, but it was only because Morag, she does this with her pals. There's a group of them. So I used to always try and make time to phone people, my mates at night or whatever. But the time you get the kids to bed now, you're knackered and you don't, just want to sit in front of the fire or do something. So I just start to leave voice notes now on WhatsApp. Just when, like, I've got cousins up at Fochabers. So rather than taking time out for a half-hour conversation, I now, on a Monday morning, I say, "Hey, Alan, what you up to? Today I'm at the sheep, blah, 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 just doing this. Did you see the football at the weekend?" And, it's just, a minute long, and then they'll come back to me and all the rest of it. So that's a great tip. I would do that. Because the one Morag does, well, that would make a great sitcom. Her mum pals, honestly, the stuff they come away with. So just stuff like that. Communication is important.
And is there something that you do every day? I mean, do you have is there anything that is sort of habitual that you must do every day to sort of make you feel better, or you miss if you don't do it?
Yeah, I like to try and get in my workshop for a wee bit. At my other, other team, I've been saying this for years. I love welding and I love making stuff, but I never get it done. I never get time to do it. That's my next ambition, is to invent something and actually make it and bring it to the market. So
Your
that's my
widget.
therapy, my welder. See, Billy Connolly, he was a welder then a comedian, so maybe I'm going another way. Um, but yeah, I like trying it in my workshop. But just walking around the farm, and that's the thing with farming. I know it's a lot of folk are going through tough times right now, but on the other hand, I wouldn't change it for the world. And I think it's taken me a long time to appreciate. I mean, we're only 250 acres here, and we're tenants, but luckily it's a secure tenancy. It took me a long time to appreciate how lucky I was actually to have it. We're very lucky. I can be my own boss because I've had jobs before, and I hate working for folk. Very lucky. Okay, it's not going to make you a fortune, but we're kind of rich in other ways. We've got a nice house, stunning views. I don't know if anyone's been to the farm. We're in a beautiful location. Perthshire or Scotland as a whole, even up your way, Aberdeenshire, anywhere in Scotland, it's a great place to live and work. We're out and outdoors, no traffic,
Absolutely.
no folk bothering us.
Jim, it's funny you mentioned Michael there, Michael Blanche, because we have spoken to him, and Michael's story blew me away that he had tried for 7 tenancies, got it on the eighth, and it
Aye,
just makes you how privileged we are to have what we have,
yeah,
and
yeah,
don't take it for granted. And it was a really
yeah.
interesting character of how he just had that. He was so tenacious, just kept going.
Yeah, he's great. And I'm mindful that I think when he gave up, he'd have a good job at SAC, and I think folk thought he was daft. But you've got to follow your dream, you've got to follow your heart. So I appreciate that because I know how many folk, like a Tennessee, has had to come by buying a farm from scratch. You can't really do it now. So I know how fortunate I am to be in that position. It's a struggle at times, but I wouldn't swap it for the world. So that's just to have, I think, appreciating what we can do, and just the appreciation of your own boss. I think that's a massive thing. I've had 2 or 3 jobs before and a couple of bosses, and it's not good, you know.
We
You know,
won't name and shame. So welding, okay, aside, and the
yeah.
comedy aside, what do you remain ambitious for the farm? Do you see it as a sort of, or do you see it as a sort of something that keeps you going while you can, explore other adventures?
Not overly ambitious. I want to get it. We're in a busy getting it tidied up just now. Put a lot of scrap away. We're having a good tidy up. I'll enjoy getting fences done, put up, just maintaining it. I like getting the digger in, getting drains fixed. Yeah, if the opportunity of land came up next door or that, I'd love to be in a position to either buy or rent that, but that's pretty ambitious, I think. And plus, it's such a, it's like a land grab. Land prices are a bit nuts. But just trying to make a good job. Now, I know at the beginning I said I was delighted to sell the cows. We are actually looking at going back into maybe looking at store cattle, or there's even going down the dairy calf route, plainly because for two reasons. We've got a big cattle shed and it's just sitting there empty in the winter time. I think that's a bit of a shame. There is other options, to do with that, and also that kind of system. If you go into like an ad lib system, if we could get in a system where we're just bedding and feeding on a Monday and then on a Thursday, and try and keep it very, very simple, and then just getting also just grazing some sturks for grass. But yeah, we would need to do it. I mean, to go and buy a floatload of bullocks now would cost you a lot of money, so you need to look at other ways of doing that. But also a bit for a mental health point of view, although we're busy enough, I think maybe having some just even 20 or 30, 40 cattle in the shed in the winter time. And also from my mum's point of view as well, because she's 75, but she's still very active in the farm. She's great help at the lambing time, helps does the books and things like that, always wants to be involved. And she kind of misses the going out to help with the cattle, even just giving them their cake or their barley, or just going out to the shed. And it's true that and I know it sounds stupid, there's no soul in the shed, if you know what I mean. Does that make sense? There's no heart, whereas you had some cattle in the shed, just not many. I think that helps. So plus, cattle, the beef's working away great.
That sort of daily purpose, isn't it? A daily focus that just means that you have to do it every day.
Yes, absolutely. We're looking at getting back into that, but I think we grew up growing tatties, seed tatties. I would still love to go and grow 20 acres of tatties every year, but that's not viable, at the price of machinery and things. But I do miss that thing. That was what we were brought up working, lifting tatties, driving tractors, combining barley, and then we went more into livestock after we gave up tatties. But I still kind of miss that side of it. I mean, ideally, I'd love to have 1,000 acres of arable land, sitting on a big combine, but that's just not going to happen.
Wouldn't we all? So instead of Clarkson's farm, it would be Jim Smith farm.
Aye, yeah, absolutely.
I never doubted it for a minute, Jim, that you'd be a joy to talk to and very easy to talk to. And thank you for sharing. And it's a super busy time of year for everybody. And I know you've got little ones about to arrive back, do they, from nursery, etc.?
Yeah, well, I hadn't been to Perth getting some bits and bobs.
Have you done your Christmas shopping already?
Well, Morag's got it kind of organised, yeah.
Of course she does.
Pretty good.
Of course she does.
Pretty good. I have to say, it wasn't quite online, but we got a lot of good stuff from, not we were cutting corners, but Lidl. We got the catalogue from Lidl, and they had everything Alice wanted. So
other supermarkets do exist.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, the only problem with something like Lidl is you go in, you just need a couple of things, you come out with an inflatable canoe, without even needing
exactly. Well, who doesn't need one of them? And a cement mixer.
What do you want for Christmas, Jim?
I think I'm needing a new boiler suit, and that's about it. No,
just if Morag's listening, that's all.
Aye. No, there's nothing major, honestly. Quite happy.
It's a nice way to be.
Joke writing inspiration. I'm trying to work on impressions just now. That's what I do in my tractor. Trying to work on. I would really love to be really good at my impressions. I do a few. Andy Murray, I can do him and that, but I'm trying to work. Yeah, Andy. I've been doing Andy for a long time now, so it's good. It's great. It's great to be here. But I used to do Hugh Edwards, Sarah. But then he got cancelled.
I know. Yeah, I know.
Everyone. But,
you don't want to do, you stay away from that one. You got to be careful these days. I know. And I like Andy. That's good.
Try with Steve Clark.
Okay, come on.
Steve Clark. So we're playing Andy Robertson. Played really, really well. So we're delighted with Andy. He's great. And Ben Dokes come in, been a great success. We always knew that Dokey could do it, So we're happy. We're good. We're delighted with who we are just now. We're playing really well in the field. It's important.
You know that Dead Ringers are looking for they're recruiting at the moment.
Well, when I was mentioning Anne McAlpine, I don't know if you listen to the Radio Scotland show. What's it called? They're on when Breaking the News is on. They do a series. There's a lassie there. She's with Sky. I've met her once. I forget her name. She does the best Anne McAlpine impression. She goes, "Hello, it's Anne McAlpine, BBC Scotland."
Thank you so much.
No worry. Thank you, Sarah. It's been great crack. And have a great Christmas. And we might book your venue for a gig again sometime.
You better. Yeah. And we'll get you up. Get you up here sometime. The Aberdonians loved you when you came to visit, so come back and see us again.
Absolutely. Fit like and all that.
Aye.
Aye.
We hope you enjoyed today's blether and it has provided some inspiration for your own well-being. One small step can make a big impact. Find something that works for you. To read our latest stories and news, download our resources and tools, or connect with Farmstrong Scotland, visit our website, allthews.farmstrongscotland.org.uk, or follow us on social media.